Hey you guys, tonight we're doing one of my favorite recipes. It's garlic butter chicken bites with asparagus on tonight's episode of Cook With Me. I'm gonna highlight the grocery list for you like I always do, but I'm gonna put it in the comments. So look for it there. Use wine or chicken broth, lemon, butter, garlic, asparagus, parsley, onion powder, pepper, Italian seasoning, salt, and crushed red pepper and olive oil. I have some chili sauce left over from Panda Express because this episode actually called for sriracha if we wanted it, and I like a heat in my food, and I ran out of sriracha. But thankfully, my boyfriend typically buys fast food from everywhere, so we have all these little packets of random shit all over my house. For example, this is his little stash of stuff. Okay, we have my favorite Taco Bell sauce for tacos. We got chili sauce from Panda, soy sauce from Panda, Domino's pizza packets. I'm sure there's Mr. Getty's in here too. Oh yeah, and there he is, Mr. Getty's packets. Anyway, we have lots of random stuff around the house. So if you're ever forgetting anything, like for one of your recipes that's like a light seasoning that you think you might have stashed away in the house somewhere, use it. Why not? That's what it's there for, right? It comes in handy, and that fast food trip saved the day. But we're not eating fast food right now, remember? So this is rather large asparagus. I'm just gonna take this, that rubber band went flying. I'm just gonna take this and trim the ends off. And we're gonna prepare it like so, okay? This is really thick. Typically I buy asparagus at the grocery store that's not as thick, but I like to cut the ends off. And then I'll put it in my little vegetable strainer here, because we're gonna rinse that when we're done. I'm gonna take this asparagus now and give it a good rinse. Thoroughly rinse your asparagus. Get it all nice and ready. Like I was saying before, I typically don't buy asparagus with thick stems like this, but truth be told, I didn't do my grocery shopping. I actually had it delivered. Oops. I really don't care how I get the groceries, as long as I get them. If it saves me time, hey, I'm happy with that. Okay, you guys. We're gonna get my pan here that's big enough for the asparagus to sit inside. And we're gonna fill it up with water because we're going to do a process called blanching. And we're gonna put this water on the stove for a few minutes until it starts to boil. And then we're gonna cook the asparagus for 2 minutes inside of it. I'm gonna set it high heat, medium high is fine, until it starts to boil. So we're gonna let that water boil. Once it gets boiling, then we're gonna throw our asparagus in there for 2 minutes. But while we're doing that, we're gonna come back and we're gonna get this chicken ready, and we're gonna wash it and cut it into chunks. I normally select something around similar to a pound. Okay, we're gonna open this. And I bought chicken tenders because we were gonna cut this, so it's already semi-cut for us. Most of the fat is already pulled off, so we don't have to trim the fat off of this as well. So that's pretty cool. I'm gonna set that aside. Then I'm just gonna trim them like so. Like maybe like into 3 pieces each. That's all we wanna do. Boom, our chicken's cut. So I'm gonna transfer it back into the strainer, and I'm gonna give it all a good rinse. I always like to wash everything just to make sure it's clean. Any chemicals that were on there have been washed away. But just for food safety purposes. Okay, y'all, we're gonna transfer this chicken after all the water's been out to this bowl for a second. And we're gonna do a teaspoon of salt. A teaspoon of pepper. And 2 teaspoons of onion powder. And then we're gonna mix it around in this bowl until it's really heavily seasoned. All right, and we're gonna let it sit in here for a second. I really like to do everything over the sink because I'm this close to it and I can consistently wash my hands when I'm touching raw food like chicken. Don't feel for anything. Our asparagus water's ready. So we're gonna set that timer for 2 minutes. And then we're gonna put our asparagus in this boiling water for 2 minutes. Now, we don't want this to cook too long, so 2 minutes is imperative. You see how thick that asparagus is? If your asparagus is not this thick, you can skip this step entirely if you have really thin asparagus. Just kind of even it out. And when that 2 minutes is up, we're gonna pull that asparagus out. In the meantime, we're gonna get some water, some ice water ready, because this is what we will be putting the asparagus inside of when it's done to stop the cooking process so it doesn't get too overdone. 2 minutes are up. Let's get this asparagus out. See how soft it got really quick. We're gonna throw it in this ice bath. This is gonna stop it from cooking any further, getting too soggy. God, that sound is annoying. Okay, here we go. Boom. Now we're just gonna let it sit in there until we come back to it. Each stick of butter is typically 1/2 cup of butter. And right here on the side, it indicates how many tablespoons are involved. So there should be 8 tablespoons in 1 cup, okay? We're gonna use half of this right now to make our chicken. I feel like Paula Deen for a second because you remember in all her shows, she's like, and then you're gonna take a stick of butter. Anyway, so we're gonna throw that 1/2 stick of butter in the pan. Okay, and then we're gonna turn the stove onto medium low. And then we're also gonna take that olive oil and give it a teaspoon. Okay, that butter's nice and ready. So now we're gonna toss in this seasoned chicken that we had done. You might have to do this in 2 separate batches because you don't want the chicken to brown. You just want it to steam with this butter. But my skillet, well, my cast iron skillet is big enough, so we're just gonna put it all in here and spread it out. Now we have all this chicken in here, and we just want to cook it until these edges are brown. See that? We don't want it to burn. We don't want the chicken to be really dark or brown. We just want it to lightly cook so it stays fresh and it doesn't burn. I think a lot of times when people make chicken, they overdo it and they overcompensate, so they cook it too much, and then it just doesn't taste fresh and it's really chewy. Once you know those pieces are ready, you can start flipping them. You see, like the edges and all that are already done. So I'm gonna flip it like so. That way they cook evenly. Look how nice it is on the other side. We're getting most of that done. Some of your pieces, this is why it's really important to make sure your pieces are similar in size. That way it doesn't take other pieces longer to cook than the other. There we go, like that. Okay, you guys, while that chicken's cooking on its last few minutes, this is where we're gonna go ahead and put in a teaspoon of Italian seasoning. Oh, snap. That was a little bit too much, but we're gonna sprinkle it on. Now my favorite, it's garlic time. The garlic, I buy it already chopped. We're gonna sprinkle a teaspoon on there too. How about a little bit more than a teaspoon? Let's go ahead and do 2. You need to really move that chicken around once you see that it's starting to get done. Some of those bigger pieces might need a few minutes than the others. So if you think those small pieces are ready, go ahead and pull them out. But I'm moving it around a lot to get all that seasoning on both the front and the back, and that garlic to touch it to give it more flavor before it's red done and ready. Okay, I'm gonna gonna go ahead and take the small pieces out and set them aside. I'm gonna leave a few of the bigger pieces in here to cook a few more minutes. Well, not too much longer. Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and remove all the chicken now. So, y'all, this same pan we just took this chicken out of, we're gonna go ahead and add in half a cup of chicken broth. Turn your fan on. We're gonna add another teaspoon of garlic. We're gonna let that simmer for a second. And we're gonna turn up the heat to medium high. We should be at medium high heat now. We're gonna add the remaining butter. The juice from half a lemon. Chili sauce. A little bit of crushed red pepper flakes. I don't really measure that out. I just pour it until I think I'm done. Because you know I'm Mexican like that. Parsley. And we're gonna stir that until it's all nice and good and mixed together. Set that timer again for 2 minutes. Because guess what? Our asparagus is coming back. And we're gonna toss it in there. Doesn't it look beautiful? Wow. It's so lovely. 2 minutes are almost up. And our 2 minutes are up. I'm gonna move all the broccoli to one side and let the juice go all the way to the other. See that? And now I'm gonna take the chicken that we made and add it to the pot and let it get sauteed with all that juice. Yeah. And that's it, you guys. Check this out. Ooh. Today will be magical. Check out that chicken and asparagus. It's so pretty. I'm super happy with it, y'all. Now, I'm going to take this and I'm going to plate it now. So, pro tip, you guys. I usually scale out lunch for tomorrow with whatever I make for dinner. I like to weigh out how much I'm eating to make sure that I'm not overeating. So I'm gonna scale out about 4 ounces. Perfect. And now I've paired it with the asparagus and I'm taking that for lunch tomorrow. So I'm saving money by not buying something at work or going out to lunch. And I'm just creatively coming up with ways to save. It looks amazing. It looks amazing. And I'm about to try it. The chicken, so good. I've been doing pretty good on this weight loss journey so far and making my own food. I actually vowed to not eat out, but once a week, if that. And to make sure I used all the groceries in the fridge that I purchased because stuff typically comes home with me to die. So tomorrow's meal might be a little creative because I still have some other stuff in the fridge. So we'll have to come up with something. But I'm sure I will. Until then, thanks for watching.